Kang Dae wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided the Morning Star through the approach corridor to Keshra Station. The old freighter groaned and rattled like it always did, but she flew true. He had been running cargo for 3 years now, ever since Earth joined the Galactic Confederacy. It was honest work, even if it didn't pay much. "We're cleared for docking at Bay 17, Park Yuna said from the navigation console. She was younger than Kang Dae by 5 years, sharper too, and had saved his skin more times than he could count. "The Vol merchants should have our payment ready." Kang Dae nodded. This run had been simple enough. Medical supplies and construction equipment to a frontier colony called New Havens. The Vol who hired him had been professional, if a bit cold. But then again, most alien species were cold toward humans. Earth was new to this game, and nobody respected the newcomers. The docking clamps grabbed the Morning Star with a metallic thunk. Kang Dae ran through the shutdown sequence, his hands moving automatically across the controls. He had done this hundreds of times. Park Yuna stretched and yawned. "I'm going to find real food," she said. "Station food. Not another ration pack." "Get me something too," Kang Dae said. "I'll handle the cargo inspection." But Park Yuna never made it off the ship. The airlock opened and 6 Vol security officers pushed inside, their scaled bodies filling the narrow corridor. They wore heavy armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. Behind them came a tall insectoid creature with too many legs and cold, multifaceted eyes. "This vessel is impounded," the insectoid announced in a clicking voice that the translator rendered flat and emotionless. "Step away from all controls." Kang Dae's stomach dropped. "What, there must be some mistake. We just delivered—" "Silence." The insectoid moved forward on its clicking legs. "I am Inspector Velsic. This ship has been flagged for carrying illegal weapons." "Weapons?" Park Yuna's voice was sharp. "We're hauling medical supplies. Check the manifest." The Vol security officers were already moving past them, heading toward the cargo bay. Kang Dae wanted to follow, but one of them shoved him back against the wall. The scales on its face gleamed under the ship's lights. "Do not resist," it hissed. Minutes stretched into an hour. Kang Dae and Park Yuna were held in the cockpit, while the security team tore through their ship. Kang Dae's mind raced. Weapons? He had never carried anything illegal. He couldn't afford to. Human traders were already watched more closely than others. One mistake could end his license, maybe even land him in a Confederate prison. Inspector Velsic returned, its mandibles clicking in what might have been satisfaction. "We have located the contraband." Concealed compartments beneath the primary cargo hold. Weapons-grade uranium, 57 kilograms. The world seemed to tilt. Park Yuna grabbed Kang Dae's arm. "That's impossible. We don't have concealed compartments. This ship is 40 years old. We know every panel. The evidence speaks clearly." Velsic's eyes reflected the light like tiny mirrors. "You are both under arrest for arms trafficking." They were separated immediately. Kang Dae saw Park Yuna being led away, shouting his name, before a Vol officer shoved him down a different corridor. The security station on Keshra was cold and sterile. They put him in a cell that was too small, with gravity set slightly wrong for human physiology. Everything felt heavy. Hours passed. Maybe days? Kang Dae couldn't tell. No windows, no clocks. Just the humming of the station and the weight of his situation crushing down on him. Finally, they brought him to an interrogation room. Inspector Velsic was there, along with 2 Vol in expensive merchant clothing. Kang Dae recognized them. They were the ones who had hired him. "Do you know these individuals?" Velsic asked. "Yes, they hired me for the supply run." The 2 Vol looked at each other. The taller one spoke, its voice smooth through the translator. "We have no record of hiring this human. We have never seen him before." Kang Dae jumped to his feet. "That's a lie. You contracted with me 3 weeks ago, transmitted the cargo manifest, paid the deposit. Show us this record," Velsic said. They brought up his ship's computer logs on a holographic display. Kang Dae's blood went cold. The contract was there, but it was different. The cargo list included the uranium. The deposit amount matched, but the origin account was flagged as belonging to a known insurgent group. His biometric signature was on everything. "This is fake," Kang Dae said, but his voice sounded weak even to himself. "Someone changed it. This isn't what I agreed to." "Your own ship's logs contradict you," Velsic said. "These records are secured by Confederate encryption. They cannot be altered." But they had been, somehow. Kang Dae sat back down, his mind spinning. This was a setup. A perfect setup. The Vol merchants needed someone to take the fall for their smuggling operation, and they had chosen him. A human, powerless, friendless in galactic society. The interrogation continued for hours. Velsic asked the same questions over and over. Where was he taking the uranium? Who was he working for? Kangdae told the truth until his voice was hoarse, but nothing he said mattered. The evidence was manufactured, but it was perfect. 3 days later, Ambassador Choi Minho visited him. The ambassador was a careful man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been Earth's representative to the Confederacy since first contact, and Kangdae could see the weight of that responsibility in every line of his face. They want to try you at the Galactic Court, Choi Minho said quietly. The uranium was supposedly destined for a colony in Shentar space. The Dragon Empress's people are demanding justice. I didn't do this, Kangdae said. You have to believe me. I do believe you. The ambassador leaned forward. But Earth cannot fight this. We're too new, too weak. If we refuse to hand you over, it could damage our standing in the Confederacy. It could hurt every human trying to make a life out here. Kangdae felt something break inside him. So I'm just sacrificed? We'll provide a defense attorney, our best. But you need to understand what you're facing. The Galactic Court isn't like Earth courts. You have to prove your innocence, not the other way around. And with this evidence, Choi Minho didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The transport ship that took him to Axiom Prime was massive, designed to carry prisoners from 100 different species. Kangdae was locked in a cell with artificial gravity, watched by automated systems. Through the narrow viewport, he could see stars streaming past as they traveled through hyperspace. On the 5th day of the journey, something strange happened. Kangdae woke to find a figure standing outside his cell. Not a guard. Someone else. The corridor lights were dim, but he could make out a tall, elegant shape. The figure wore robes that seemed to absorb light, and its eyes glowed with a soft golden color. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then the figure turned and walked away, its movements fluid and precise. Kangdae pressed his face against the viewport, watching it disappear around a corner. It had been Shentar. He was sure of it. But why would one of the Dragon Empress's people be watching him? Axiom Prime appeared ahead, a massive station that served as neutral ground for the Galactic Confederacy. It was beautiful and terrifying, a monument to 12,000 years of civilization. The court complex dominated the center, a crystal structure that caught the light of 3 nearby stars. Kangdae was brought in through a prisoner entrance surrounded by guards. He caught glimpses of the station through windows, aliens of every imaginable shape moving through corridors, ships docking and departing. The sheer scale of everything made him feel impossibly small. Earth had been alone in the universe for all of human history. Then 23 years ago, everything changed. Now humanity was just one more species among hundreds. Not special, not powerful, just new and therefore weak. As they led him to his cell in the court complex, Kangdae made a decision. He would tell the truth, even if nobody believed him, even if it meant spending the rest of his life in a Confederate prison. He wouldn't lie. He wouldn't give them that. It was all he had left. The Galactic Court was beyond anything Kangdae had imagined. The chamber rose hundreds of meters high with walls of crystal that caught and refracted light into patterns that hurt to look at. Gravity fields allowed species from different worlds to float, crawl, or stand according to their biology. Some delegates hung from the ceiling. Others existed as clouds of gas contained in force fields. Kangdae sat in the defendant's platform, a circular space in the center of everything. Thousands of eyes watched him, thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds, all here to see the human smuggler get what he deserved. His attorney Nam Suho sat beside him. The young man looked uncomfortable in his formal suit, constantly checking his datapad. He was Earth's best legal mind, but he had only been studying galactic law for 2 years. Most of the beings in this room had been practicing it for centuries. Remember, Nam Suho whispered, let me do the talking. Don't volunteer anything. In Confederate law, the burden is on us to prove innocence. The High Arbiter entered the chamber and the noise died instantly. Thessalcal was a crystalline being, its body made of interlocking geometric shapes that shifted and rotated slowly. It was ancient, older than human civilization, and its voice resonated through the chamber without need for translation. This court convenes to address charges of arms trafficking against the human Kangdae. The Shentar Dominion has requested this trial be conducted under full Confederate law. Does the prosecution wish to present its case? A vole stepped forward into the prosecution platform. Its scales were a deep purple, polished and gleaming. The translator identified it as Velthon, senior prosecutor for the Vole Trade Council. "We do, High Arbiter. The evidence is clear and damning." Velthon's voice was smooth, confident. This being had done this hundreds of times before. The defendant was apprehended with 57 kilograms of weapons-grade uranium, concealed in his vessel. His own ship's logs show he accepted this cargo knowingly. Banking records show payment from a known insurgent group. We have documentation and witness testimony. Holographic displays filled the air around the chamber. Kang Day saw his ship's manifest, his biometric signatures, transaction records. All of it false but perfect. Whoever had set him up knew exactly what they were doing. Namsuho stood. "High Arbiter, my client maintains his innocence. These records have been falsified. The Vole merchants who hired him have deliberately framed..." Laughter rippled through the chamber. Not cruel laughter exactly. More dismissive. The sound of thousands of beings who couldn't believe what they were hearing. Thesical's crystalline body flashed once, calling for silence. The defense will have opportunity to present evidence. Prosecutor, continue. Velthon presented the case methodically. Each piece of evidence fit perfectly with the next. The uranium had been found in compartments that only the ship's captain could access. The payment had gone to Kang Day's account. Testimony from station workers confirmed the Morning Star had docked and departed on schedule. Then Velthon called his witness. A human walked into the chamber. Kang Day's stomach twisted. "State your name and occupation," Velthon said. "Hanjiwoo, independent trader registered out of Earth's New Sol station." The man didn't look at Kang Day. He kept his eyes fixed on some point above the crowd. "Do you know the defendant?" "Yes, we've crossed paths at various stations. Trading circles are small. Tell the court what you witnessed 3 weeks ago at Keshra Station." Han Jiwoo swallowed. When he spoke, his voice was flat. "I saw Kang Day meeting with 2 Vole merchants in a private docking bay. They were discussing cargo. I heard them mention uranium. Heard them discussing the price." "Liar." Kang Day jumped to his feet. Namsuho grabbed his arm, trying to pull him back down, but Kang Day shook him off. "I never met them in a private bay. I never discussed uranium." "He's lying." Thesical's body flashed red. "The defendant will remain silent or be removed from this chamber." Kang Day sat, his heart pounding. Hanjiwoo still wouldn't meet his eyes. Someone had gotten to him, threatened him or paid him or both. The testimony continued. More witnesses, more evidence. Namsuho tried to object, tried to introduce doubt, but galactic law didn't work like Earth law. There was no jury to convince. There was only the High Arbiter, and Thesical was bound by evidence and precedent. When it was the defense's turn, Namsuho did his best. He called up Kang Day's previous cargo runs, showed a 3-year record of legitimate work, pointed out the impossibility of one man smuggling that much uranium alone, argued that the ship's logs could have been altered by someone with the right technology. But he had no proof, no evidence, just arguments and possibilities. "High Arbiter," Namsuho said, his voice growing desperate. "We request a full forensic investigation of the ship's computer systems. Advanced analysis could reveal the alterations." "Such an investigation would take months," Velthon countered smoothly. "The defendant's ship has already been impounded. The evidence recovered from it is sufficient. The defense is simply trying to delay the inevitable." Thesical considered. "Request denied. The evidence presented is admissible under Confederate standards. The defense has failed to demonstrate reasonable doubt." Namsuho sat down heavily. Kang Day could see the defeat in his shoulders. "The defendant may make a statement before judgment is rendered," Thesical announced. This was it, Kang Day's last chance. He stood slowly, feeling the weight of every eye in the chamber. Namsuho touched his arm. "Keep it brief," the attorney whispered. "Don't accuse anyone directly. Just state your innocence." But Kang Day was done playing careful. He stepped forward to the edge of the platform. "My name is Kang Day. I'm a cargo hauler from Earth. I've been running freight for 3 years. I've never carried anything illegal. I've never broken Confederate law." His voice echoed strangely in the massive chamber. 2 Vole merchants hired me to transport supplies to New Haven's colony. That's all. Medical equipment. Construction materials. Nothing else." He took a breath. But when I arrived at Keshra Station, I was arrested. They said they found uranium in my ship, in compartments I didn't know existed. The Vol who hired me denied ever seeing me before. Somehow my ship's computer showed I'd agreed to transport illegal weapons. But I didn't, I swear I didn't. You have been shown the evidence, Thessalcal said. Your own biometric signatures were faked. Kangday's voice was stronger now. I don't know how. I don't understand the technology. But I know the truth. The Vol are lying. They needed someone to blame for their smuggling operation. They chose a human because we're new. We're weak. We don't have powerful friends or ancient alliances. We're easy targets. The laughter started again, louder this time. Kangday heard it rippling through the chamber. Species that had been part of the Confederacy for thousands of years, laughing at this primitive human who dared to accuse the respected Vol traitors. The human's desperation is understandable, Velthun said, amusement in his voice. But unsubstantiated accusations are not evidence. The Vol Trade Council has served the Confederacy for 6,000 years with honor. I don't care how long they've been here, Kangday said. He knew he was destroying any chance he had left, but he couldn't stop. I'm telling the truth. I'm just a freighter captain trying to make a living. I didn't do this, or more laughter. Even some of the human observers looked uncomfortable. Ambassador Choi Minho sat in the Earth delegation section, his face carefully neutral. Thessalcal's body flashed again, calling for silence. The defendant's statement is noted. However, without evidence to support these claims, this court has no choice but to... A disturbance rippled through the chamber. Something was happening in one of the upper viewing boxes, the section draped in black cloth where no one had been sitting. Or so Kangday had thought. Figures were moving in that darkness, standing up. The cloth fell away, revealing beings that made Kangday's breath catch. They were tall and elegant, with features that seemed almost human but perfected, refined. Their eyes glowed with soft golden light. They wore robes that seemed to absorb the light around them. Shentar, the Dragon Empress's people, and at the center of them one figure rose, taller than the others, more powerful. The air itself seemed to bend around her. When she moved, it was with a grace that made everything else seem clumsy by comparison. The entire chamber fell silent. Even Thessalcal stopped moving, its crystalline body frozen mid-rotation. The figure stepped to the edge of the viewing box. When she spoke, her voice filled every corner of the massive chamber without any technology to amplify it. It was the voice of someone who had ruled an empire for centuries, who commanded fleets that could shatter worlds. He speaks truth. 3 words. That was all. 3 words that changed everything. Because standing before them, having traveled from her throne world for the first time in 300 years, was the Dragon Empress Rihanna herself. And everyone in the galaxy knew that the Shentar could not lie. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Kangday stared up at the viewing box where the Dragon Empress stood, his mind struggling to process what was happening. The most powerful being in known space had just spoken in his defense. It made no sense. Thessalcal recovered first, its crystalline body rotating to face the Empress. Your Imperial Majesty, your presence honors this court. However, your statement is unexpected. Do you have evidence to support this claim? The Empress stepped down from the viewing box. Not walked, not floated. She simply moved, space seeming to bend to accommodate her. In seconds, she stood on the main floor of the chamber, and Kangday could see her clearly for the first time. She was both beautiful and terrifying. Her features were sharp and perfect, her skin pale as moonlight. But there was something else, something that marked her people's ancient bond with the dragons of their homeworld. Her eyes were completely gold, without whites or pupils. Scales ran along her cheekbones and down her neck, catching the light like jewels. When she moved, there was power in every gesture. Behind her came others. Shentar guards in black armor that seemed to drink in light, and one human. A tall man in the same black armor, his face scarred but calm. He moved with the confidence of someone who belonged exactly where he was. I do have evidence, the Empress said. Her voice was calm, but it carried absolute authority. Over the past week, my intelligence service has been investigating irregularities in shipping manifests near Vol space. We discovered a smuggling network that has been operating for decades. Holographic displays erupted across the chamber, replacing Velthun's carefully constructed case. Shipping records, financial transactions, communication intercepts, all of it traced back to Vol merchants, including the 2 who had hired Kangday. The uranium found in the human ship was placed there without his knowledge, the Empress continued. The compartments were installed during a maintenance period at Keshra Station 3 weeks ago. Here is the security footage. New images appeared. Kang Dae saw his own ship in a repair bay. Saw Vol technicians working on the cargo hold, installing panels that shouldn't be there. The timestamp matched perfectly with when he'd had the Morning Star serviced before the supply run. Belthan had gone very still. The purple Vol prosecutor's scales had lost some of their shine. High Arbiter, I must protest. This evidence has not been verified through proper channels. We cannot simply accept. You question the word of the Shentar Dominion? The Empress turned those golden eyes on Belthan. You question my integrity? The prosecutor actually stepped back. Everyone in the chamber knew what the Empress was, what her people were. 12,000 years ago, the Shentar had modified their own genetics, binding themselves to truth at a cellular level. They were biologically incapable of lying. It was why they were trusted as mediators, as witnesses, as judges. A Shentar's word was absolute. No, Your Majesty, Belthan said quickly. I simply meant that procedurally, the Shentar Dominion does not engage in deception, the Empress said coldly. If I say this evidence is genuine, it is genuine. If I say this human speaks truth, he speaks truth. She turned back to Thessakel. The Vol have been using newer species as scapegoats for years. They choose beings with no political power, frame them perfectly, and let Confederate law handle the rest. This human is the 8th such victim we have documented. The others include a Telkari merchant, a Brev explorer, and 5 members of various species who were all convicted of crimes they did not commit. An elderly Shentar stepped forward from the Empress's group. This one was even older than the Empress, if that was possible. Its scales had dulled with age, and it moved slowly, carefully. I am Rendith, Elder Scribe of the Imperial Archives, it said. I have served the Dominion for 400 years. I have documented this investigation personally. The evidence is complete and accurate. Thessakel rotated slowly, processing this information. The High Arbiter was ancient and supposedly impartial, but even it had to recognize the weight of what was being presented. If this evidence is authentic, then the charges against the human are false. But I must ask, Your Majesty, why did you choose to involve yourself? This is not typical Shentar behavior. The Empress tilted her head slightly. My people have been observing humanity since first contact. Many species view them as primitive, reckless, too emotional. But we see something different. We see adaptability, innovation, and a particular quality that we value highly. They persist in the face of impossible odds. She gestured toward Kang Dae, who felt frozen under her golden gaze. This human knew he would not be believed. He knew the evidence was perfectly manufactured against him. Yet he stood here and told the simple truth anyway. He did not lie. He did not make excuses. He did not try to bargain. That impressed me. The human guard in Shentar armor stepped forward. Permission to speak, Your Majesty. Granted, General Beck. The human turned to face the chamber. My name is Beck Taeyang. I was born on Earth in the city of Busan. 15 years ago, I left human space and joined the Shentar military. I earned my rank through merit, same as any Shentar warrior. And I'm not alone. There are hundreds of humans serving in the Dominion now. We've found a place there because the Shentar judge us by our actions, not by how long our species has been traveling the stars. This was news to Kang Dae. News to most of the humans in the chamber, judging by the stunned faces in the Earth delegation section. Ambassador Choi Minho had half risen from his seat, his careful composure finally cracking. The Empress continued. When we learned of this human situation, I decided it was time to make our position clear. In the Shentar Dominion, truth matters more than political convenience. Justice applies to all species, regardless of their power or history in the Confederacy. I will not allow the Vol or anyone else to abuse the newest members of our galactic community. She turned back to Velthun. Where is Trade Prince Vexkar? He was supposed to be observing these proceedings. Movement in the Vol delegation section. A large Vol in elaborate robes tried to move toward the exit, but Shentar guards were already there. They didn't touch him, didn't need to. They just stood between him and the door, and that was enough. Vexkar, the Empress said softly, you should remain. I believe you'll want to hear what comes next. The Trade Prince stopped. His scales had gone pale, almost white. Kang Dae had never seen a Vol look frightened before. But Vexcar was definitely frightened now. The Empress gestured and more evidence appeared in the holographic displays. This shows the full extent of the smuggling operation. Vexcar has been running weapons to insurgent groups across 3 sectors. He's been using legitimate traders as cover, then framing them when convenient. The operation has generated enormous profits and destabilized multiple regions. These are serious accusations, Thessalcal said. Its crystalline body had taken on a reddish hue, suggesting anger or perhaps concern. If proven, Trade Prince Vexcar would face severe consequences. They are proven, the Empress said. I would not have come here otherwise. I have the documentation, the testimony of those involved, extracted by my intelligence service, and I have something else. She looked at Han Jiwoo, who had been standing frozen at the witness platform this whole time. The human trader looked like he wanted to disappear. This human gave false testimony, the Empress said. Not because he wanted to, because Vexcar's people threatened his family. His wife and daughter are living on a frontier station in Vol-controlled space. They told him what to say or his family would disappear. Han Jiwoo collapsed to his knees. I'm sorry, he said, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry. They said they'd kill them. I didn't know what else to do. Kang Dae felt something in his chest loosen. He'd been so angry at Han Jiwoo, but now he just felt tired. The man had been trapped, same as him. Just another pawn in the Vol's games. Your family is safe, the Empress said to Han Jiwoo. My people have already relocated them to neutral territory. You will face no charges for your testimony. You are under duress. She turned to face the entire chamber. This is what happens when the powerful prey on the weak, when established species use the newcomers as convenient targets. I will not tolerate it. Not in my space. Not anywhere in the Confederacy. Thessalcal rotated to face Velthan and Vexcar. Prosecutor Velthan, in light of this evidence, what is your position on the charges against the human Kang Dae? Velthan looked like he'd swallowed something bitter. The prosecution withdraws all charges, High Arbiter. It is clear the defendant is innocent, and Trade Prince Vexcar is remanded to Confederate custody pending a full investigation, Thessalcal announced. His diplomatic immunity is revoked. All Vol involved in this conspiracy will be arrested. Guards moved through the Vol delegation section. Vexcar didn't resist. He seemed to have shrunk, his elaborate robe suddenly looking too big for his body. The Empress turned to Kang Dae. You are free to go, Captain. Your ship will be returned to you, along with compensation for your time and suffering. I apologize that you were caught in this situation. Kang Dae tried to speak, but no words came out. The Empress of the most powerful empire in the galaxy was apologizing to him. A simple freighter captain from Earth, it didn't feel real. Thank you, he finally managed. I don't understand why you did this. Why you helped me. Those golden eyes studied him. Because you told the truth when no one would believe you. Because you stood here alone and refused to compromise your integrity. That is worth protecting, Captain Kang Dae. That is worth standing up for. She turned and walked back toward her guards. General Baek Taeyang gave Kang Dae a small nod, something that might have been respect before following his Empress. The Shentar delegation departed as smoothly as they'd arrived, leaving chaos in their wake. The chamber erupted in noise, delegates shouting questions, the Vol delegation in disarray, Ambassador Choi Minho rushing down toward the main floor, his face showing more emotion than Kang Dae had ever seen from the careful diplomat. But Kang Dae barely noticed any of it. He was looking at his hands, watching them shake with released tension. He'd told the truth, and somehow, impossibly, it had been enough. The hours after the trial were a blur. Kang Dae was released from custody immediately, but Confederate bureaucracy still required processing. Forms to sign, statements to give, medical checks to ensure he hadn't been mistreated. He went through it all mechanically, his mind still trying to catch up with what had happened. Ambassador Choi Minho found him in a processing center, waiting for his belongings to be returned. The older man looked different somehow, less burdened. I have to admit something, the ambassador said, sitting down beside him. When this started, I wasn't sure we could save you. I believed you were innocent, but I didn't think that would matter. I'm glad I was wrong. The Empress saved me, Kang Dae said. Not Earth, not the Confederacy, her. True. But do you know why she was watching your case at all? Choi Minho leaned back against the wall. The Shenitar have been observing humanity carefully since first contact. Not to control us, not to exploit us, To see what we would become when thrown into this galactic civilization. And what have we become? That's still being decided. The ambassador smiled slightly. But events like today help. The Empress made a statement. She told the entire Confederacy that humanity has powerful friends now. That will change things. Later they gave Kang Day access to a communication terminal. His first call was to Park Yuna. She appeared on the screen, her face lighting up when she saw him. "You're alive. I've been trying to get information for days. They wouldn't tell me anything." Her relief turned to anger. "I should have been there. I should have testified. They kept us separated on purpose," Kang Day said. Yuna, the Empress herself, intervened. "She proved we were set up." He told her everything. The evidence. The smuggling network. Han Jiwoo's coerced testimony. Park Yuna listened with growing amazement. "So we're really free? They're giving us the Morning Star back. Better. They're compensating us for the whole ordeal." "And the Empress," Kang Day paused. "She said we could have trading licenses recognized throughout Shentar space. Do you know what that means?" Park Yuna's eyes went wide. "That's half the galaxy. The richest markets. Kang Day, we'd never have to scrape for cargo again." "I know. I'm still trying to process it." The next day, Elder Scribe Rendith requested a meeting with him. Kang Day found the elderly Shenatar in a quiet diplomatic suite, surrounded by holographic documents and data streams. The old being moved slowly, its scales dull with age, but its golden eyes were still sharp. "Captain Kang," it said, "please sit. I wanted to speak with you about what happened." Kang Day sat carefully on a chair that adjusted to human proportions. "Everyone keeps wanting to talk to me. I'm just a freighter captain. I don't understand why this is such a big deal." "Because it represents a pattern," Rendith said. "The Vol trafficking network we exposed has been operating for 47 years. They have used this exact method 8 times before you, always choosing victims from species with little political power, always manufacturing perfect evidence." The scribe gestured and holographic images appeared. Kang Day saw faces, beings from species he didn't recognize. These were the other victims. A Telkari merchant convicted of smuggling forbidden technology, a Brev explorer accused of transporting biological weapons, 5 others, all different species, all framed perfectly. What happened to them? They are serving sentences in Confederate prisons. 20 years, 50 years. One was sentenced to life. Rendith's voice was heavy with something that might have been sorrow. All innocent. All used as convenient scapegoats while the real criminals continued their operations. Kang Day felt sick. "Can they be freed now? With the evidence the Empress found?" "Yes, their cases will be reviewed and overturned. But years of their lives are already lost." The old Shentar looked at him directly. "You were lucky, Captain. Lucky that your case caught our attention. Lucky that the Empress decided to act. Why did she?" "I still don't understand." Rendith settled back. "My people have been part of the Confederacy for 11,000 years. We have seen countless species join. Some thrive. Others are crushed by the weight of galactic politics. We have watched humanity with great interest because you remind us of ourselves long ago. Young, passionate, stubborn." The Empress said she was impressed that I told the truth. She was. But there's more to it than that. The scribe gestured to another image. It showed General Baek Taeyang in Shentar armor. "We have been accepting humans into our military and civil service for over a decade now. Quietly. Testing to see if your species has the qualities we value." "What qualities?" "Adaptability, innovation, the ability to see problems from new angles, and above all, integrity under pressure. You demonstrated that perfectly, Captain Kang. When the entire galaxy was laughing at you, you stood firm. That is exactly what we look for." Kang Day thought about this. "How many humans are there in Shentar space?" "Currently, 417 in military service, 308 in civilian positions, scientists, engineers, traders, scholars. They earn their places through merit, same as any Shentar. And they thrive because we judge them by their actions, not by their species' age or history. Does Earth know about this? Your government has known for several years, but they kept it quiet. Didn't want to seem like they were losing citizens to another empire." Rendith made a sound that might have been amusement. "But after today, I suspect that policy will change." The door opened and General Baek Taeyang entered. The human warrior moved with easy confidence, his scarred face relaxed. He nodded to Rendith, then turned to Kang Day. "Captain, mind if I join you?" "Please." Baek Taeyang sat down, and for a moment the two humans just looked at each other. Then the general smiled. I saw your testimony. The part before the Empress intervened. You've got guts. Standing there telling the truth while everyone laughs takes strength. I didn't have much choice. You did. You could have lied. Could have said what they wanted to hear. Taken a plea deal for a lighter sentence. But you didn't. Baek Taeyang leaned forward. I left Earth 15 years ago because I was tired of being seen as lesser. Tired of other species treating humans like primitive children. In Shentar space, I found something different. I found a place that valued what I could do, not where I came from. The Empress said there are hundreds of humans in her service, and that number is growing. After today, I expect it to grow faster. The general's expression turned serious. What happened to you is going to change things. The Empress doesn't involve herself in Confederate politics lightly. By standing up for you, she sent a message to every species in the galaxy. Humanity has allies now. Powerful allies, but why? Kang Dai asked. Why does she care about us? Baek Taeyang and Rendith exchanged glances. The scribe spoke. Because the Shentar were once where you are now, new to galactic civilization, looked down upon by older species. We nearly destroyed ourselves trying to prove we belonged. We made mistakes that cost us dearly. The genetic modifications, Kang Dai said, remembering. The ones that made you unable to lie. Among other things, we bound ourselves to truth because we needed to be trusted. We needed allies who would believe our word without question. It worked, but it cost us flexibility. Cost us the ability to deceive even when deception might be necessary. Rendith's scales seemed to dim. We don't want humanity to make the same mistakes. Don't want you to feel you must change yourselves to be accepted. The Empress sees potential in your species, Baek Taeyang added. Raw potential that could shape the future of the Confederacy. But only if humanity survives long enough to reach that potential. That means having allies. Having protection while you figure out galactic politics. Kang Dai absorbed this. So this wasn't really about me at all. It was about making a political statement. It was about both, Rendith said gently. The Empress could have exposed the Vol conspiracy through other means. But she chose to do it publicly, in the most dramatic fashion possible because your case was perfect for what she wanted to say. You were innocent. You were being railroaded by established powers. And you refused to compromise your integrity. That made you the ideal symbol. I don't want to be a symbol. I just want to haul cargo and make a living. Unfortunately, Captain, you already are a symbol, Baek Taeyang said. News of this trial is spreading across the Confederacy. Humans standing up to Vol corruption. Dragon Empress herself intervening. It's the kind of story that gets told for decades. The door opened again and Ambassador Choi Min-ho entered, looking harried. Captain Kang, I need to speak with you. Earth's government has authorized me to... He stopped, seeing the others. General Beck, Elder Rendith. I didn't know you were here. We were just explaining the situation to the captain, Rendith said. Perhaps you should explain your part, Ambassador. Choi Min-ho sat down, pulling out a data pad. The Shentar Dominion has extended an offer to Earth. A formal alliance and trade partnership. Not as subordinates, but as recognized partners. This is unprecedented. It would completely change humanity's position in the Confederacy. Kang Dai felt dizzy. Because of what happened to me. Because the Empress decided it was time, the ambassador said. Your case was the catalyst, but this has been building for years. The Shentar have been evaluating humanity, and apparently we passed their tests. There will be conditions, Rendith said. Trade agreements, military cooperation, cultural exchanges, but nothing that would compromise Earth's sovereignty. The Empress is offering partnership, not domination. Other species are already responding, Choi Min-ho said. We've received diplomatic overtures from 6 other civilizations in the past 12 hours. Everyone who dismissed us before suddenly wants to establish relations. That's what powerful allies get you in galactic politics. Kang Dai looked around at all of them. The elderly Shentar scribe, the human general in alien armor, the exhausted ambassador, all of them looking at him like he was important. Like he mattered. I just told the truth, he said quietly. That's all I did. Sometimes, Rendith said, that's enough to change everything. The formal alliance ceremony took place 3 days later. Axiom Prime's grand diplomatic hall was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all there to witness the unprecedented event. Earth and the Shentar Dominion, signing a partnership agreement that would reshape galactic politics. Kang Day watched from a private viewing box, feeling out of place in the formal clothes they'd given him. Park Yuna sat beside him, equally uncomfortable in her diplomatic attire. They'd been offered seats at the ceremony itself, but Kang Day had declined. This wasn't his world. He was a cargo hauler, not a politician. Look at them all, Park Yuna said, gesturing to the crowd below. Species that wouldn't even acknowledge us a week ago. Now they're falling over themselves to shake Ambassador Choi's hand. She was right. The human delegation was surrounded by aliens seeking conversations, trying to establish connections. The dynamics had shifted overnight. Humanity was no longer the weak newcomer to be exploited. They were the species with the Dragon Empress's favor. It's strange, Kang Day said. Nothing about Earth changed. We're the same as we were before, but because we have powerful allies now, suddenly we matter. That's politics. Park Yuna leaned back in her seat. Strength through association. The Empress knew exactly what she was doing when she intervened publicly. Down on the main floor, the Empress herself made her entrance. The crowd parted immediately. Species that had been jostling for position suddenly finding urgent reasons to step back. She moved through them like a force of nature, her Shentar guards following in perfect formation. General Baek-Taeyang was among them, his human face a stark contrast to the alien warriors around him. The ceremony itself was elaborate, full of ritual and tradition. Ambassador Choi Minho signed documents in multiple languages and formats. The Empress added her own seal, a mark that glowed with golden light. Speeches were made about cooperation and mutual benefit. The standard diplomatic language that meant different things to different beings, but the meaning was clear enough. Earth had arrived, truly arrived, in galactic politics. After the ceremony, Kang Day was summoned to a private meeting. He found the Empress in a small chamber overlooking Axiom Prime's gardens. She stood alone by the window, her golden eyes watching ships come and go from the massive station. Your Majesty, Kang Day said, bowing awkwardly. He wasn't sure of the proper protocol. Captain Kang. She turned to face him. I wanted to speak with you before I returned to my throne world. I never properly thanked you for what you did. You saved my life. I did what was necessary, both for you and for the message it sent. She gestured to a seat. Please, we can dispense with formality. Kang Day sat and the Empress settled across from him with that same perfect grace. Up close he could see the details of her dragon heritage. The scales that ran along her neck and disappeared beneath her robes. The way her eyes caught light like jewels. She was beautiful and alien and powerful all at once. I have an offer for you, she said. A position as a trade liaison between Earth and the Dominion. You would coordinate cargo shipments, establish routes, help human merchants navigate Shentar space. It would be prestigious work. Important work. Kang Day had expected this. They'd been hinting at it for days. I'm honored, truly, but I have to decline. The Empress tilted her head slightly. May I ask why? Because I'm a cargo hauler. I like flying my ship, picking up freight, delivering it. I'm good at that. I'm not good at politics or coordination or any of that other stuff. He met her golden eyes. I'm grateful for everything you've done, but I don't want to change who I am. She was quiet for a moment. Then something that might have been a smile touched her lips. Interesting. You are offered power and prestige and you refuse it. That is very human. Is it? Most species would jump at such an opportunity. The chance to rise above their station, to become important. She leaned back. But humans often refuse power when it doesn't align with what they want from life. It's one of the things that makes your species fascinating. I just want to get back to work, Kang Day said honestly. My ship, my crew. Simple cargo runs. Then you shall have that. The Empress pulled out a small data chip. This contains trading credentials recognized throughout Shentar space. You can go anywhere in my dominion. Dock at any port, take any legitimate cargo. You'll have priority status and fair rates. Build the life you want, Captain Kang. Kang Day took the chip carefully. It was a small thing, barely larger than his thumbnail, but it represented access to half the galaxy's richest markets. Thank you. This is more than I ever expected. You earned it by being exactly who you are. Don't lose that. The Empress stood, and Kang Day quickly rose as well. There is one more thing. When you travel through my space, if you ever need assistance, you can contact General Beck directly. He has been instructed to help any humans who find themselves in difficulty. I'll remember that. Good. Now go, Captain. I believe your co-pilot is waiting for you, and you have a ship to reclaim. The Morning Star was right where they'd impounded it, in a secure dock on Axiom Prime. Kang Day and Park Yuna walked through the ship, checking systems, making sure everything was intact. Confederate authorities had returned it in perfect condition, even cleaned and repaired some wear that had been there before. They really did compensate us, Park Yuna said, checking her datapad. 3 months of lost earnings plus damages, and with these new trading credentials we can actually make good money. Kang Day ran his hand along the navigation console. The Morning Star wasn't much to look at. Old, worn. But she was his, and she'd never let him down. New cargo contract came through. Park Yuna continued. Shentar Merchant needs electronics delivered to a colony world. It's in their space so we can use our new credentials. Pays twice what we usually make. Sounds good. Kang Day settled into the pilot's seat. It felt right. This was where he belonged, not in diplomatic meetings or formal ceremonies. Ambassador Choi Minho came aboard before they departed. The older man looked exhausted but satisfied. I wanted to see you off personally. What you did, Captain Kang, it changed everything for humanity. I hope you know that. I just told the truth. Yes, and sometimes that's the most powerful thing you can do. The ambassador handed him a secure comm device. This is a direct line to Earth's diplomatic corps. If you ever need anything at all, use it. You've earned that much. After the ambassador left, Kang Day began the pre-flight sequence. The Morning Star's engines hummed to life. That familiar sound that meant freedom and possibility. Park Yuna worked through the departure checklist, her fingers flying across the controls. Ready when you are, she said. Axiom Prime Control, this is Morning Star requesting departure clearance. Morning Star, you are cleared for departure. Safe travels, Captain Kang. The docking clamps released and the ship lifted smoothly away from the station. Through the viewport, Kang Day could see the massive diplomatic complex where his trial had taken place. Could see the gardens where he'd spoken with the Empress. Could see dozens of ships from hundreds of species, all going about their business in this neutral meeting place. And in the distance, he saw it. The Empress's flagship, the Dragon's Ascent. It was impossibly massive, larger than anything humans had ever built. A vessel that could carry armies, could level planets if necessary. It was a reminder of the power that now considered Earth an ally. Look at that, Park Yuna breathed. That's the most powerful warship in the galaxy. Yeah. Kang Day watched it for a moment longer, then turned the Morning Star toward open space. But that's not our world. We're cargo haulers. Let's go deliver some electronics. They jumped to hyperspace, leaving Axiom Prime behind. The stars stretched and blurred around them as the ship's engines carried them toward Shentar space and their new contract. Kang Day leaned back in his seat, feeling the tension of the past weeks finally drain away. Do you think things will be different now? Park Yuna asked. For us, for humanity? Probably. The Empress made sure of that. We have allies now. Protection. Other species will think twice before trying to exploit us. But we're still just hauling cargo. Yeah. Kang Day smiled. We are. And I'm okay with that. 3 weeks later, Kang Day was making a delivery to a Shentar colony world when something unexpected happened. A young human approached him in the spaceport, barely out of their teens, wearing civilian clothes but moving with military precision. Captain Kang, I'm Shin Yunbi. I serve in the Shentar Auxiliary Forces. General Bayek Taiyang sent me to find you. Is something wrong? No, sir. The general wanted me to deliver a message. He's been getting inquiries. Lots of inquiries. Humans wanting to know how they can serve in the Dominion like he does. They saw what happened at your trial. Saw a human in Shentar armor standing beside the Empress. It inspired them. Kang Day thought about that. Is that a good thing? The general thinks so. He says humanity needs people in all parts of galactic society. Soldiers, scientists, diplomats, traders like you. Shin Yunbi looked around the bustling spaceport. We're still figuring out our place in all this, but we're getting there. Thanks in part to you. I didn't do anything special. You stood up when it mattered. You told the truth when lying would have been easier. The general says that's exactly the kind of human the galaxy needs to see. She handed him a data chip. He wanted you to have this. Information about human communities in Shentar space. Places where humans have built lives. In case you ever want to visit. After she left, Kang Day looked at the chip. He thought about General Baek Taeyang, who had left Earth to find a place where he belonged. about the hundreds of other humans doing the same, about the alliance that would bring the two civilizations closer together. He thought about the Empress standing in that courtroom and declaring he spoke truth. About how one moment, one decision to intervene had changed everything. Park Yuna found him still standing there, lost in thought. Everything okay? Yeah, just thinking about the future. What about it? Kang Day looked up at the sky where ships from dozens of species came and went, where humanity was no longer alone, no longer struggling to survive in an uncaring galaxy. They had allies now. They had respect. They had a chance. I think it's going to be interesting, he said. The Morning Star lifted off from the colony world that evening, heading toward the next job, the next port, the next delivery. Kang Day guided his ship through the lanes of traffic, just another cargo hauler among thousands. But he wasn't really just another hauler anymore. None of them were. Humanity had been tested by the galaxy and found wanting, then tested again and found worthy. The Dragon Empress had seen something in them worth protecting, worth allying with. Now it was up to humans like Kang Day, like Park Yuna, like General Baek and Shin Yunbi and thousands of others, to prove that faith was justified. As they jumped to hyperspace, Kang Day allowed himself a small smile. He had told the truth in a courtroom full of beings who laughed at him. And somehow, impossibly, that simple act of honesty had helped change humanity's fate among the stars. It was a good reminder. Sometimes the most powerful thing you could do was just be yourself and refuse to compromise, even when the entire galaxy thought you were wrong. The Morning Star carried them forward into the vast darkness, toward new contracts and new worlds, toward a future that was brighter than it had been just weeks before, toward home, wherever that might be among the endless stars.